Hey, everybody, welcome back to part 2 of our first video podcast. And if you haven't seen part 1, check it out over here. I always get that wrong. I don't know. Had a great conversation with my partner in crime, Sandesh Patel, and Adam Voss from 12 for 12, Echelon Design, and adamvoss.com. So check it out. Yeah, I want to loop back to something that Sandesh, you said just a moment ago, right? You mentioned millennials, right? And one of the things that I think is really interesting, and one of the reasons why we do a lot of what we're doing now is there's a shifting demographic happening here, right? And millennials interact with technology very differently. And the way they interact online socially is very different. I mean, South by Southwest had a great speaking session about what the F is wrong with my teenager, right? Sandesh, remember that?
It's my South by Southwest shirt. I don't know if you saw it, but it's my South by Southwest shirt.
And your daughter, Chris, was on the poster?
No, but one of the things he said was that, we of this older generation really don't understand how they interact with technology because they have a very personal and deep connection on these platforms. And I watch my daughter and how she communicates, and she's sharing very personal things with her friends, and she has a huge network of friends. And I, it's like, it's almost, there's an upside and a downside to it, right? One, like something bad happens. It's like you live the life of a celebrity because you have 1,000 people all of a sudden commenting on what happened, right? But on the other hand, you have this enormous support network, right? And they genuinely get support from it. And one of the things he said about that I thought was really an interesting and eye-opening thing for me was that our inclination is whenever your teenager does something wrong is to take away their phone, right? Technology goes away. Technology is the source of all your problems. You're spending too much time online and you're not in touch with the real world. But the reality is that's how they go and work through their problems. They talk to their friends. I mean, we used to call our friends up or go down the street and meet up with them, but now they're interacting with people online and working through the issues and solving their problems online. And that's how they do it. And so all this is to say that maybe, for us, this is really challenging, going virtual and being virtual,
totally.
employees.
But not for them.
Yeah, but not for them. And this world is changing in a way that maybe we're going to get left behind, but the people who are coming up and going to be making the decisions now are going to be really comfortable with.
Well, and they're saving so much money on hand sanitizer, you know what I mean?
Yes, they are.
The other thing, though, Chris, too, is that I've witnessed is these millennials also, they really want their job to have purpose. They really want to make sure that whatever they are doing, actually, they are making a difference, and I think that's really interesting now because now it challenges companies to create situations where it's like, if you want to motivate these people, right? Before it was money, right? A lot of people were motivated by money. And now I think it's really interesting that this younger generation now is not necessarily motivated by money, but how they feel about something, how they connect with something. And so it challenges all of us to create those situations and see how can we create those meaningful events for them, because I think it's great. Personally, I think it's great that that's the way that they believe and that's the way they think. I wish more people thought like that, right? But it makes a challenge for us because they're not loyal, right? As soon as you're boring them, they're going to the next job, right? As soon as they feel like they're not getting what they want, they're leaving. Where before, like our old generation was, I'd love to go work at IBM for 35 years, retire, and then that was the career path that they wanted. And I think that this dynamic now, where this millennial generation really is not as loyal to their employers and they really are looking for that satisfaction, I think we got to really understand that better, because I certainly don't know how to do that.
Yeah, and one of the things that we have noticed about technology in the space we're in, the companies that we're working with on the emerging technology front, the lifespan of these companies is they accelerate incredibly fast, and then they then the next technology comes up. So maybe their worldview is more appropriate for what's coming up than our old worldview, right? And maybe they're making better choices to move on to the next thing because that's the life cycle of businesses now.
Well, and if you like peruse any edition of Inc. or Entrepreneur magazine, they are the ones leading the charge. I mean, they are the ones that are fearlessly, with your point, Sandesh, about having a purpose, driving a business with that purpose, and not being afraid that they don't have the pedigree, they didn't go to Wharton, they didn't, they don't have the right capitalization or funding. They just go for it. And I think there's a lesson there that, us and Generation X, I mean, we had to go through the ways that our parents, the boomers, like, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to get your MBA, you got to go to grad school. And I think about, like, this generation is so impatient because of the technology that they use as their platform. Everything is totally immediate, real time, all the way. So going back to this pandemic, yeah, I think these are the ones that are going to be the most resilient physically, emotionally. I think it's our generation that's going to need and suffer from the most PTSD and going to need Dr. Sharma to help us. You know what I mean? Like, I will definitely be at the therapist. There's no doubt. So.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's sort of the unintended consequences of a lot of this stuff, right? I mean, I sent you guys that little article about the town in Thailand that used to have a tremendous amount of tourists that would go to it, and now since tourism has completely dropped off the face of the earth there, what they're finding is that the tourists would feed the monkeys. And now the monkeys aren't getting fed, and they're getting really angry about that. And they're coming into town and raiding the food and getting, attacking the villagers over food because they're hungry. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's a really extreme and weird example of how, some of these things have unintended consequences. But maybe
a future pandemic.
Right. Another future pandemic. But I mean, like we're talking about the millennials, maybe this is going to really spur a changing of the guard too, right? Maybe we're going to get into a world now where we're going to be doing, we're going to prove out this technology. We're going to prove out the fact that we can have people working remotely and virtually and things like that. And, they're going to fare better in this world than, somebody of my generation, your generation, right? It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think, going back to kind of the original kind of question of, how is this going to impact, the tech industry? I mean, again, the companies that don't innovate, that don't, invent opportunities from this tragedy are going to be left there kind of holding a box of empty dreams, where the companies that have, good ideas that can execute them at speed and can do it with the confidence of, like, I might not have done this before, but that's okay. I'm going to make it until I make it. And I think that's kind of the approach that we all need right now, and help each other. I mean, that's the other thing, is it's like, we all want our margins, but at this time of the game, it's more about staying alive than it is like being number one.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting times that we live in. And I think, getting back to sort of the speed of business today, I think in some regards, we are well positioned for this, right? Because I think, we've seen this sort of shift to cloud and microservices and all that stuff. But what that has really brought us is, faster time to market, better quality of, software and products that are being developed, and the shift to, SaaS-based platforms. So the time to implement and deploy things has gone down a lot. The pace of innovation on those platforms is very high because they're, doing it on a SaaS-based platform, so they can make those changes and grow and adapt the platform at a very rapid rate. So, from an entrepreneurial perspective, and a company, that's developing technology, this is a great opportunity to, bring some really interesting, new, innovative ideas to market. And I think some of the SaaS players that we've seen out in the space, just like in the the AI ops and stuff like that world and things like that. I think there's already companies that are really well positioned to serve a lot of these companies out there that are trying to deal with these challenges, but haven't gotten the traction because there hasn't been the push. But now maybe the push is there, and we'll see a lot of innovation and development in other areas that we hadn't anticipated.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, Chris. I think there's going to be people that are going to go through this experience, professionally as well as personally, right? This is definitely invading on people's personal space too here more than anything. But I think it's going to be the people that do change, right? It's the ones that are going to stay complacent, that don't want to change, that just want to see how does this thing work out? Let me just see what does somebody tell me the next thing that I should care about? Instead, there's people like us, right? I love having our calls with the three of us because it's it's just constant ideas about what can we do. We are where we are. This is the current state. We can sit here and be miserable and complain about everything, or we can look for solutions and options, right? And I think that's what's exciting for me. If is that one exciting part for me is that I can't wait to try to figure out how we can all keep helping each other, our customers, our communities, right? In Chicago, I see this as an opportunity, and I think to your point too earlier, Adam, we're starting to get people from Chicago now reaching out to Chris and I saying, "Hey, what are you guys doing here? And how can we work together? How can we all go towards this mutual goal?" And it's just so exciting that I got a couple of those on LinkedIn just yesterday, and it's just a good feeling. It's good. There's other like-minded people there that aren't just focused on what's in it for me, but they're focused on what's in it for us. And, that is what Emerge is all about, right? Is let's change that culture. We can't change alone. You can't do it by yourself. No. We all need to work together. If we don't, we won't change, right? And I think that's the whole cultural aspect of Emerge, and I'm just excited that we are still having it, because during this period of time between now and October 29th, we are all going to grow as humans and companies and societies and politicians and everything else. I think the scientists are going to learn. We're going to learn so much. I think there's just so much opportunity for us to all get better. What I find really interesting is I want to get your perspective on this, Chris. I know you know so much about so many things. It's absolutely remarkable. But and I don't really like to talk about politics. That I hate talking about politics just because I don't feel very educated in it. But what I found interesting is this issue that we have right now of not being able to get the testing, just basic testing to as many Americans as we possibly can. Right. That simple fact, and with Korea and others being able to do that and 1,000x of what we're able to produce.
A drive-through capacity, no less.
A drive-through, I know. Yeah, and just randomly stopping people over to do the test too, which it just shows you how sophisticated they are compared to where we are. But it's interesting because then when I heard Bernie speaking, and he wasn't arrogant about it. He didn't have the "hey, I told you so," but there was a little bit of that, "hey, if we can get healthcare to every American, and he did his whole speech that he always does. It's interesting. I wonder, does that help him? Does this unfortunate pandemic help him in this situation? Does that elevate this discussion at an appropriate time in our history? I don't know. I just wanted to get your opinion because I definitely respect it.
Well, it's here's what I would say about it. I think there's some really interesting things here, right? I mean, one of the things that government can be really good for is solving big problems, right? I mean, that's why we always talk about the moonshot, right? The moonshot was we moved from not having any space experience and vehicles to landing people on the moon in a very short period of time, right? Because we put a tremendous amount of resources into that, right? So I think it's really important for government to be involved in this because this is how you solve these problems. To get there's a dog in the background. doing something strange back there, Adam.
Oh,
but,
he's having a good time.
but I mean, that's what government can really bring to bear, and so we have to utilize our resources that way. And I think there's certainly an aspect of this is that if we had some sort of universal healthcare in this country, there would be a lot fewer challenges, right? I mean, this would be a much simpler thing. You don't have the issue of people avoiding going to the hospital or not getting the flu shot because they can't afford it, or all these other things that come with a lack of universal health care. So it's challenging. But I think going back to Korea there's an interesting technological aspect to what Korea did, right? And I don't know if you saw any of the reporting on this, but they use a lot of automation and technology and modeling technology to and robotics to bring these test kits to market. And they did it in like a span of like 3 weeks. They went from zero to shipping test kits at volume in a few short weeks, which is really amazing considering the fact that we've known about this since, sort of the end of December. And here we are, it's March now, sort of getting into the end of March. And, we still don't have effective test kits at volume, in this country. So we really are operating blindly here. So it's just interesting how they applied, their technology and their technological know-how to solving this problem at a very rapid rate. And it's funny that, why isn't that happening here? And I think it's a cultural problem somehow, right? I mean, I don't know what the cultural problem is, but clearly there's some problem here that we're not getting past.
Well, they did, to kind of piggyback on that, they did it too in Beijing. There was a Beijing-based startup called Infravision, and they're a member of NVIDIA's incubator program, and they came up with a GPU accelerated AI app to help screen for signs of the virus. And invention is, necessity is the mother of invention. So if you think about the need, one of the silver linings of all of this stuff is we're having this conversation that technologists are innovating, that storytellers have so many stories. Think about all the things that your contacts, your partners, your clients, your friends, people that come to Future Tech Emerge 2020 will have to share. I mean, and it won't be the standard, this was on our PowerPoint deck at the beginning of the year or year end. You know what I mean? Sorry about that. They agree 100%. Give me a second.
Well, this is a great example, though, right? One of the things that I've seen a lot of people talking about now is the fact that if everybody's going to be quarantined and everybody's going to be remotely working from home, in the past we found it's
So one of the not so fun side effects or things about working at home are deliveries are terrible.
Well, what Sandesh and I were talking while you were dealing with the dog was that, this is something that people are talking about a lot. Like when you're working from home, you have home life that interferes in your work day, right? And where it was always bad etiquette to have a dog or barking in the background or a child, interrupting, I think we're just all going to have to get used to that now, because if we're going to be working remotely, that's just part of the game.
Well, to me, it was always the dog was passable. The child was totally unacceptable. I remember that feeling, and going back, to 2008, 2009, we'd be on team calls, and if your kid walked in the room or was talking to you, that implied that you were at home to take care of your kid more than you were to work. Times have changed a bit, but I think you're right. We're going to have to get used to it.
Yeah, it's a new normal.
Totally.
Well, and I want to get back to something that Sandesh you talked about earlier, is that how much you enjoy these conversations that the three of us have been having about all of this stuff, right? And how it's a lot of innovation and ideas and and things like that. And I think it's interesting because, we talk sometimes about sort of intersectional opportunities, right? Where you bring different disciplines together. I mean, Adam's, more on the marketing side, where I'm more on the technology side. But, you also have, like look at Korea and, some of the things they're doing. They're bringing, NVIDIA's, stuff in to bring AIs to solve for, these medical solutions. I mean, there's so many intersectional points with technology in different disciplines here that I think that is an important part of all of this. And now that we're getting to be more virtual, the costs of doing things like that and bringing other people into the conversations may not be as high, right? So what are your thoughts on that?
Do you mean specifically in terms of this forum that you're creating in the podcast?
Well, not just that, but I think this is an opportunity maybe to involve more people in the conversation, right? Because we're solving for now different problems, right? And like, for example, if you're gonna have people working remotely, right? And interacting and touching clients, there's an aspect of marketing to that, right? I mean, you have to bring a different approach to that, and you have to train people on what that approach is, and you have to have a different message for that, right? So my point is like, and solving for some of the sales problems or some of these support challenges that we're going to have in this new paradigm, there's a marketing piece to that to smooth over some of those social challenges and some of those business challenges. So I think there's more people that need to be in the conversation.
Absolutely. And sorry, go ahead, Adam.
No, I was just going to say, it's partnership, right? It drives real need, shared need.
Yeah. Chris, we've talked about this many times, and Adam, I met you that one time at South by Southwest randomly, and it was awesome that we made that connection, and and I knew exactly who you guys were. You guys did a great job at the Accenture event and everything. So I knew right away you guys were the real deal. And so when it came time to put this conference together, one of the things that I kept telling Chris was, I want to work with good people. Whoever it is that we bring into our ecosystem, I want them to be people that aren't here just for the one hit and then they're gone, right? I wanted to have a relationship and a partnership with people that we could do this over and over and over. And if we can build that chemistry, then 1 + 1 = 3, and 3 + 3 = 15, and things like that, right? And so that was, and to your, to Echelon and Adam, everything you guys have brought to us, I think you guys are one of our X factors, right? You are helping us change the game. You're helping us do things differently. And I think that's what we're going to have to keep doing. I'm a guy who likes to sell in front of people, right? I like to sit in front of them, understand their problems, look at them in the eyes, really get to understand their DNA, and really understand, and also let them know that I'm willing to spend the time with you. I'll come see you. I'll fly and come see you. I will drive and come see you. But it's important to me that we have that interaction. And now, if that's going to change, and which it's not if, I think it is going to. And I think the fundamental sales process can ultimately be compromised in our industry. If that is, how do I adapt to that, right? And that's what we're doing here today. For me, this is definitely a learning experience. And if this is valuable to customers, and if we can get good information to them, get them something meaningful, Chris. We've always said we want to make sure what we do in our content is meaningful. If we can do that, not only do I hope that we're successful with it, but I hope the rest of the industry is, and I hope that we can help other people, our companies that we work for, as well as all the partners that we work with. Let's all do this together. If it works, let's do it. Let's learn from the mistakes for sure, and then let's keep trying to do new things. And that's what we've always done, Chris. We've always done that, right? Yeah. It's that whole agile, fail fast, but keep trying to, try new things.
Well, it's funny when everybody in the world has a week off or a month off, or you're forced into quarantine. These are the times to, you don't have that task list of things to do, and your calendar isn't full. All of a sudden, it just got expunged. So now you have time to think and time to go, wow, this totally caught me off guard. that's kind of a good thing. You have an opportunity here, and if you make it an opportunity, and you bring in partners and friends and idea makers, I think a lot of people are going to find that the silver lining behind this coronavirus was the thing that changed their lives. And is as much as it's perched on a tragedy, again, nothing happens. Opportunity, when it knocks, you got to go.
Yeah. And also, when have I learned the most? I've learned the most when it hurt the most. Like when I made a mistake that, that hurt. I lost a deal last year, and for about 9 months, I'm still not over it. But it takes a while, right? Yeah. But I have to learn from it.
Maybe this is a great place to leave it, right? I think what we're saying here is that there's so much value in collaboration, and this is a really great opportunity for all of us to reach out to other people and bring them in and help each other out. And we're all going to get through it ultimately. But this, I don't think we're going to be the same when we come out the other side. And I think this is an opportunity for us to be better, right? To focus on the right things and integrate people in a meaningful way, and to bring us all together, right? So I just want to say, thanks to Adam Voss, 12for12.com, adamvoss.com. Anything else you want to plug, Adam? I know you got a lot of things cooking up.
12 for 12, maybe making the airwaves. So I'll just hint that. But no, it's been a pleasure working with you guys. It's been great to be on Future Tech. I've been wanting to be on your podcast since you started it. So thank you. I just want to.
Well, I've been on yours, so yes, I feel it's only fair.
And just like when you were on mine, I'm also totally pantsless. So thank you for that.
Well, we all are. That's the benefit of working from home, is just being pantsless all the time.
Perfect.
It's been great to finally get you on the channel, Sandesh. So this is the level of collaboration that really excites me. So
no, you've been in an island, man. You've been on an island yourself, man, and you've done an amazing job. So I think this is great. Just wrapping comments. First of all, I think it takes these kinds of situations to bring us together, and I think one of the big themes I walked away with here today, courtesy of Adam, was we can't do it alone. Let's do it together. And I think that to me, that's what emerges too, right? Is like where you and I have been talking about collaborating and being more accepting of new ideas and change, and being more accepting of startups and new ideas. We have a lot of people that are innovating great things out there, and they're working really hard, trying to solve problems out there. I think we should be encouraging them and helping them, and not
tearing them down.
Not just. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Try to help them get better. So that's the one thing. Second thing is, hey man, thank you so much for having me on here. This is awesome. And I hope I didn't screw it up, but again, let me know how I can get better. I want to be like you and Adam one day. So that's
no, you don't.
That's my dream.
No, you don't.
Stay as you are.
Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect as you are. Well, Thanks for everything. Thanks, you guys. If you like what you're seeing here, subscribe, hit that bell button, and you'll get notifications. And we will see you in the next video.